Welcome to the Main Street Minute with equestrian marketing expert India Wilkinson. This is the destination for all things equestrian, from horse sales, breeding, horse health, and a look into the intricacies of the horse business world. Join India as she dives in with industry leaders to discuss the challenging and rewarding lifestyle of being in the equestrian world. And get ready for the Main Street Minute.
Hi there, this is India Wilkinson with the Main Street Minute, and I am so excited today to have Michele Scott. She is the CEO of Professional's Choice, which we all know and love that brand, among other things. So we are going to dive right in, and I actually met Michele through one of her teammates that was in our Women in Equine group, and I mention that group a lot because I've met so many amazing women business owners and founders. But Michele, we're going to jump right in. So first we're going to talk about Professional's Choice because that is clearly a big part of your history. So tell us about that and your journey to CEO.
Sure. Thank you, India, for having me. I appreciate it. And so I have been around Professional's Choice since I was 6 years old. This is a family business and it's a family legacy. And we are starting on our 50th year here this month. So it's all the company has always been in my life because it's family. And my parents started it the way it came about. I'm going to take a little credit because as a 6 year old little girl who loved horses, and my parents moved to a property where we could have them, and there was a family across the street with horses, and every day after school I'd go over and I'd pet those horses and I'd come home and beg for a horse. And fortunately, my dad had been a horseman. He'd grown up on a ranch in Oregon. And he finally caved. And we got this big, he was probably 16.2, 16.3. I mean, to me, that's not big today because my dog does jumpers and I ride dressage horses. But as a 6 year old little girl, he was a half quarter, a half draft horse. And he lived with us till he was 30 years old and I was an adult. But Ivan was his name. And I begged my dad to please come home early from work. He was a general manager of an RV dealership at the time, but he was also always an entrepreneur. My dad was always coming up with ideas. And he truly loved horses. So my dad comes home early from work, but it's also Ivan's dinner time. And my dad had a little putt-putt dirt bike, and he says, okay, we didn't even have a saddle yet. We'd had him for maybe a week. He says, okay, we're going to go out on this trail behind the house. I just want you to walk him. I'm going to be behind you, and everything's great. We get out on the trail, everything's good. My dad would probably say it was the dumbest thing he ever did as a parent, but it turned out to be the best thing, right?
Thinking of a mini bike with a kid bareback on a huge draft, but yeah, go ahead.
Right? So then we turn around and he says, now, honey, whatever you do, don't kick him because he does know it's his dinner time and he does know where the barn is and he's going to want to go home. And I was a little precocious and I kicked him and he started in a trot. And then the next thing you know, he's in a full-born canter and I go over a hill with him. I come off, but my dad can't see me. He wipes out on his dirt bike. He breaks his leg in several places.
Oh my God.
So, and of course, I even went home for dinner. And during that summer, he was trying to figure out how could he keep his cast protected so he could swim or take a shower without doing it with a trash bag. He then met up with a company that I'm sure everybody's heard of called Body Glove. They make dive suits. They were a small business out of their garage in an area in San Diego where I grew up. And he met with them and he designed the cast protector. So that was his first product, and it was called Dry Cast Orthopedics. Fast forward a few years, and there's a few more horses, and my dad is sitting there going, how do I make them more comfortable? What can I do to protect their legs? So he starts talking to any vet who will talk to him, people on the track, horse owners, trainers, and that's when he developed the first, what he then called the polo boot out of neoprene at the time. Then that boot iterated over the years to become the sports medicine boot that you see today, and it's gone through several iterations. So that the origin story is that's what I've been around my entire life, and that was his creative mind. And my mom was always the support. So the office in the house that I grew up in was just a little office, and my dad worked several years supporting the company, and my mom would answer the phone and take written orders. And then Body Glove was sewing for the time for at that time for us. And so and then my mom was shipping, and that's how we started. And I think we had originally 4 or 5 products, like the bell boots and the polo wraps. I wish I could remember what they all of them, but now we have over 4,000 products on the shelf. So that's yeah.
That might be the coolest origin. I mean, I've heard, we hear a lot, but that is really cool. And I just was thinking about, because the best inventions are always the solution to a problem, and that's what your dad. But I think we might be around the same age. Sounds like our kids are. But do you remember the Body Glove bathing suits that
Yes.
like? So when you
Yeah.
said that, I immediately knew what that fabric was, because I remember those bathing suits were like the coolest thing in
Yeah.
the
You
80s.
knew. And then at the time, he was really smart in that he formed relationships with a company in Japan that, so most neoprene is a petroleum based, and the neoprene that he was able to get an exclusive on is a limestone base. So it's a natural based neoprene. So that was one of the things that he was able to solidify. And again, I mean, my parents grew an amazing business, and really I don't think if he were alive today, he would believe what we're doing and what we have done. I
Oh,
mean, his whole focus was always the animal, and he really kind of had that belief system that if I do this, if I create this with the right intention, then my company will grow. And it has. So
that is amazing. So you were growing up and you were obviously, watching your dad and watching this business grow. And did you know you wanted to be in the business, or did you take a detour and come back? Like, what was your journey with that?
sure. So I always wanted to be a writer from the time I was a little girl, and my dad encouraged me. He was my
And a
biggest
writer,
mentor.
right? A writer,
Writer
not a
and
writer. Okay.
ride. Well, I
Yeah.
wrote all
Yeah.
my life
And you
too.
were,
Yes,
yeah.
I did. But I did always want to write, and he encouraged that, and he saw that in me. And so I went off. I went to college. I got married young, had my 2 boys, and then later a daughter. And I was in and at that time after graduating from school, I wanted to go into journalism. I had graduated with a journalism degree at USC, and but my first son was born pretty preemie, 6 weeks early, and he was in the NICU. So when he came home, he was on a lot of monitors and things, and so it was at that time I decided because I couldn't go to work right away, I was gonna write a book. So I wrote my first manuscript at that time, and my dad kept encouraging me. But then throughout the years, as my kids grew, I started doing, I would go in and out of the office. Sometimes I did customer service, sometimes I helped in the back. I did shows here and there. I mean, I have a really cool story about a show that I did. I did the NFR one year. My little girl was only, I think she was 4. And my COO, Monty Christ, he's amazing. I couldn't do any of this without him. And he's been in the business since he was 18, and we're the same age. So a lot of years, like over 35 years, I think he's been with us. But I went and did the NFR, and it was at Christmas time, obviously. And my daughter, we had to tell her, I told her, well, I'm going to help Santa because he needs parent helpers. So Monty would call Caitlin every day, and he would act as Santa Claus. And then so she would, yeah. So I mean, we really are a family at Professional's Choice. But then what happened is my writing took off. My books took off. I started doing really well with that. And it became a full-time job. So I stepped away from the business. In 2010, when we had the housing crash and the market and the economy fell apart, uh, at that time, my book contracts got dropped because I was seeking more in advance money. And it was also at the time that my dad got sick with a disease called multiple systems atrophy. We didn't know what he had at first. We just knew there was something neurological going on. So he asked me if I would come back to work for the company full time. And that's what I did. And it was at that time, although we already had some English products, we had girths and we had bell boots, and we had some, we had a market there, but we weren't really focused in any way on it. And I'd always grown up riding English, doing some jumping here and there, but now I'm doing dressage and my daughter, obviously, she was a 3-day event rider for many years, and now she's a show jumper. But I said to my dad when I went back to work full time, I said, I think there's a demographic that we're missing, and I really want to develop a full line of products for them. And he said, I had a little cube right outside his office. And he says, well, you can go over and sit in your cube and you can figure it out. It's going to take you 3 to 5 years and you're going to sink or swim at it, but that's what it's going to take for you to launch this line. And he goes, have at it. And I'm like, well, what do I do? He's like, I just said, go figure it out. And so I
Wow.
did. And yeah, now, we've grown that line substantially over the years. And that's something I'm pretty proud of and have quite a bit of support in. So yeah.
Well, and you should be. You should be. Like I said, I mean, I guess I just assume when I say like professional's choice that everybody knows that brand, but why don't you explain if there are listeners that may not, I can't imagine, but
Sure.
exactly what your products are.
So we create products. Our philosophy is the more comfortable the horse, the better their performance. And what we do is we want to create a product for the horse that fits a need, whether it's so all sorts of leg care. We want to prevent injury. We want to help rehabilitate. So we have a whole line of products from ice boots to magnetic therapy and ceramic therapy, and we do all sorts of saddle pads with new technologies. And we're constantly trying to. We have a product development team that is always looking at how can we make these products better, what kind of materials should we be looking at? We take them to professional horsemen. We all use them ourselves and test them because I would say 85% or at least 80% of us at the company ride in one discipline or another. Our kids ride. It's really, we understand the lifestyle and we just provide anything from. We've got grooming supplies under the Tail Tamer name. We have leather products for in the Western arena, from reins and halters and so forth. And we pretty much do everything for the horse outside of, say, saddles and things like
Hmm.
that. But yeah, we can pretty much fit all your needs. That's
I
the
love
goal.
it. And especially that everybody rides. I mean, I can't, I mean, I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of these, of all the companies, but the fact that the CEO, I mean, that it's family owned and the CEO and that you actually have ridden all your life and you know what we want, what feels good, and what is important. I'm a former 3-day eventer, and I don't ever like to say just dressage. I used to say that before I only strictly rode dressage, and now I'm like, I have been schooled, you know. So
I will remember that for myself too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
It's
caught myself one day saying, someone said, "Are you still eventing?" And I said, "No, I'm just doing dressage." And I thought, oh my gosh, like I earned my bronze medal and I'm going for my silver and I have worked so hard. I mean, it's so hard. And I
it's
thought, I
so
am
hard.
never going to say that again.
You know what I think brings all horse people together. I don't care what discipline you're doing. I don't care if you're barrel racing, dressage, jumping, roping, whatever. The one thing that defines all of us is grit,
Yeah.
right? And it's that horse. And that's where we can all come together as a community, no matter what we're doing, because we will stay up all night with a sick horse. We have to feed them rain or shine, freezing cold, humid, hot. It doesn't matter, right? And I think bringing that's something that we all know that within the company. I mean, and the family atmosphere is like that. And I think we work very hard. I see the kids of these family members of these folks that work with us, our team. And I'll tell you, horses teach you more about heart, humility, discipline, perseverance There isn't anything a horse can't teach you and how to be a better human, in my opinion.
I love that. And you're right. And the work ethic, I mean, if you hire a true horse person, true horse person, their work, you don't have to teach work ethic. I mean, it's just ingrained in us. It's probably more like you have to tell a horse girl or, guy or whatever, like take a break, like stop, go home,
It's so true. I can't tell you how many miles I've logged in a horse trailer with my daughter going across country. And, you know, you're bedding stalls at
Mhm.
whenever you get there at 1 a.m. or whatever it is, and you're unloading stuff. And so it's just a part of the lifestyle. It's why we do what we do. We love it.
So, talking about professionals' choice and the products, what have you seen evolve over the years? I mean, I think it's pretty cool that your dad was already in that green mode, like, going for the limestone. I mean, that's really interesting that came about so long ago. But what have you seen change? Because obviously you have your finger on the pulse of what's needed, but what's changed in the industry and how long have you been in the leadership position?
So I really have only taken on the leadership position in this way in the last really year and a half, 2 years, and partnered. It's really a partnership with Monty. We work as partners, so I don't really see me above him or him above me or anything like that. And he really understands the market of the Western world, and I understand the English quite a bit. So it's a great team. The changes that I think I'm seeing real happen rapidly right now has to do with technology. And I'd like to think that we've always been on the cusp of that because the equestrian industry tends to be behind many of the other industries out there. And so when I say that we're going and looking for materials, the head of product development, she goes to conventions like for tennis shoe material and, different sports.
Wow.
She's always looking for things. How could this help us? So we're always trying to find a better technology that can work for the horse. And what I think you're going to see happen, and that's already happening, is AI technologies are going to be used in things like smart products, probably coming out for the horse more and more. That's interesting to me. And I want to explore that a little bit and see if there's something we might be able to develop in that realm. But I think that's the biggest changes that I've seen. And I think you're going to see the equestrian industry start to catch up with all the other industries out there in this way. What the other thing I've seen that's kind of that actually makes me sad is the expansion of, say, buyers just going to Amazon or, right? I mean, you still have your mom and pop stores, but a lot of those or stores, unfortunately, have had to shut their doors. And we built this business on those kinds of venues, those shops. And so we maintain those relationships. One thing we have not changed is the way we do retail, and we have dealers out there, and that's not something I think I mean, we will sell direct, but not at a lower price than our dealer.
I love that there's so much integrity in that. And I think buyers too, well, you would hope that people are learning that sometimes buying things on Amazon doesn't mean that you're actually getting that real product. It's so easy to knock things off now. And they don't care. They don't care if the integrity of that product, but we do as horse people. And I think I do agree with you that in technology, especially the equestrian world, I say it's like trying to do a U-turn in a cruise ship, just try, it takes a long time. And I think but once we buy into something, we buy into it. And we're really loyal to our brands. And, we saw that just with everything that happened with Dover. And, I think that's going to change people. I think they're actually going to be even more loyal to the local stores because of that, because I think it showed us like, hey, this can actually happen, and that's not what we want. We want to walk in. We want to walk in and talk to people. That it's kind of our social life too, to be able, I mean, we're also isolated, right?
It really is. It's so, I mean, you know this. If you meet somebody, say it on an airplane, all of a sudden you each realize you have a horse. Like it's like, oh my God, my new best friend, right?
Right.
It is just it is how we socialize in a lot of ways. And going back to a little bit around the changes is that the other thing on a negative side, and you brought this up, you'll see people knocking things off, trying to, make a buck. And I think what I don't like seeing is you see things cheapen down, and when you have
Mhm.
new people, let's say parents bringing their kids in if they can afford to do it, but that's another thing that I'm concerned about. Are we pricing out our,
Yeah.
new people coming in, and even people who've been doing this forever that, but I think what you want to be sure of when you're buying these products is what is the quality?
Mhm.
Who is behind this brand? And I can assure you that who's behind our brand, we're true horsemen and women, and we understand our customer. And that is something we have above others. And I think the other thing that we have above competitors in a lot of ways is we don't just do things to make it, we don't just do them to make them and just to make them pretty. Sure, we have some of those things to compete with, but I think we're always thinking, how do we make this effective for the
Mhm.
horse and the horse owner?
Well, I would think, safety wise too. I mean, none of us wants a boot coming off on cross country or in the dressage ring or a rein breaking or I mean those things are really important. I think and all of us will spend so much more money on making sure that our horses are safe in those ways than we would even in our personal lives. I mean, just shoes alone, right? I mean, we don't think twice about 350 or $400 each month for a pair of shoes. I would never buy a pair of shoes for $400. I mean, so but it's just part of what we do to make sure that the horse is comfortable and all of those things. So that I
When's the
love that
last
you
time
talk about that.
I was just gonna say, when's the last time you had chiropractic or
Oh,
massage or
yeah.
right or
No, no.
acupuncture? But your horse, I bet,
Oh yeah,
has.
all three, right?
Right?
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
exactly. And that's just to exist. It's really not, it's just like that's just so that that they're safe and sound and all the things. So
Yep.
we talked a little bit about how things have changed on the sports medicine side, and you mentioned technology and AI. There's so much, and I wasn't going to go down this path, but since you brought it up, there is so much turmoil over the thought of AI. But when you think about how it can help us deter, horses can't speak. So let me just kind of back up a little bit. I've used PRP on my horses. I've used PMF therapy on my horses. And I recently had a torn rotator cuff. So I had a PRP shot and I got MagnaWave therapy and it healed. And I immediately, when they offered it, I immediately jumped on it and they were like, wow, most people, I was like, oh no, this works on the horses. I know it works. And I have personally felt that. But, and it's funny that that's coming from the horse side into human care, because we've been doing that on the horse side for a long time. I mean, the PRP I probably used 10 years ago and since then. So if we had AI, AI could show us how that horse was, their pain points or, trying to diagnose exactly where the pain is coming from and exactly where this is happening. I see where that technology could help build these products to pinpoint those things and make them better, right? I mean,
Yeah, look, I know there's a lot of controversy over AI. However, it's not going anywhere. And I think, and I've been taking courses for running business and how you can utilize it to be more effective and streamlined. And what I'm discovering is that the people who embrace and learn it probably
mhm.
going to be those people who continue on. And so I'm an advocate in that way. And I do think if we can find a way to give our animals a voice, and if this can help, I would be for that. I would, I would love to be able to determine, and if the AI can determine the pain point, and how can I then come up with the solution to make that horse healthier, better, perform better, whatever that looks like, I would I would be in on that.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the books because I'm so excited to hear about this. But before we do, I know you have a lot going on. So
I
you
do.
mentioned that you have 6 children between,
Three and
and
three. Yeah.
they're, yeah, and you're running this huge company, managing a lot of employees, and you are a best-selling author, and you travel. I know that our listeners can't see you, but you look great. You look very calm.
Thank you.
Um, so, what's your best advice? I mean, I know I've always been a working mom and I've figured out ways to juggle it, traveling a lot with shows and things like that. And I always just made it work. I mean, Horse Girls, we just make it work.
Mhm.
I don't know that I had the best work-life balance, but what would your advice be for somebody who's trying to do it all?
Oh my gosh, I think I'm only as good as my team, to be honest with you. I couldn't. I mean, I don't, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't run this business day to day. That's where I have an amazing operational, I've got my COO president, he's amazing. And my whole team at Professionals Choice. Like I said, we're like a family. Where my strengths are in that is it's also knowing what are your strengths. Like my strengths are not really in looking at financial reports, although I have to do it, right? My strength comes in marketing and creative. That's my side. So knowing what I'm good at and being a part of the team as a whole. And then I think the other part about balancing, honestly, is it's calendaring everything. And there
Mm-hmm.
isn't a day, even when I'm on vacation, when I'm not working. Although I'm going to go on a vacation here soon, and I've told myself I'm going to bank a bunch of hours before I go, and I'm going to try it. My husband and I are saying we're going to put our phones away. We'll see, because he's also a CEO. So we'll see how that happens, how well that goes.
It's like sounds good in theory.
It does sound good in theory. And fortunately, our children are all adults, but yes, they do need us still, uh, as you know.
Yes.
So it's just a lot of, honestly, the best advice I can give people to maintain balance is sometimes you just got to laugh and you can't just do it all. You may not get it all done in a day, but it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. I think too, I'm so glad that I put my children first when I had the opportunity because I think there's so many young moms out there that are running the barn and working and kids in school and I got really good advice about just putting the children first because I mean, even as adults, they do need us, but not like they do as kids. And there is a season where we can focus on work and we can focus on our own writing and our own priorities. And I think that's really what helped me stay sane, during that for sure.
Yeah, it's true. I know that I was fortunate and that my dad allowed me that ability. I was divorced as a young mom, and he did give me the freedom to really stay at home with the kids. And then when my youngest went off to school is when I really started spending my time in the office with him and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was integral too. I don't want to diminish her at all. My mom was the CFO of Professionals Choice for all those years. And I can tell you
Wow.
this, she knew every penny that came in and every penny that went out. And she knew how to budget and balance books. And she was really integral in growing the business. She was kind of the woman behind the man. He was the creative,
Wow.
she was the finance person.
Is she still alive?
She is still alive, yes, but yeah, she's retired now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah,
I would hope
she's in her
so.
80s. So yeah, she's having the last stretch in a she's always in a pretty good mood these days.
It's gotta be just so cool though to see because I mean you seem like a very grounded person, but to think of the legacy that your family has left, I mean, really made such an incredible impact
Yeah.
on the equestrian community. You've got to be really proud of that.
I don't want to get emotional, but I'm very proud at what my parents set forth. And I also always go back to the intention as to why they did what they
Mhm.
did. I mean, we had
Yeah.
horses in our backyard, and my mom wasn't, she never really rode very often, but she fed them and she groomed them and she loved them. They loved animals, both of them. And if I keep that in my going forward, and it's not dollars and cents, and this is not just another company that puts out products,
Mhm.
I think my team would agree with that. Then, we're doing right by the animal and the rider. Um, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think the other thing, and I think all horse people could probably attest to this, what keeps us grounded are those animals. I
Yes.
mean, as much as I'm doing, I really, when I'm home, I try to make a concentrated effort to be at the barn 3 to 4 days a week if I can. And that
Mhm.
is early because I'm in Texas and it's hot right now. So it means I need to be there no later than 8 o'clock because I have two to do. And then then I get home and usually I'm still in my riding, my breeches and dirty shirt when my husband walks in. Says, "Don't you want to shower before dinner?"
Why?
Why? I think I smell great.
I remember one day I walked in. I mean, my husband, we've been married for 15 years. We're a blended family. And so, he came into this when it was just full on. And I walked in one day and he was like, what is that? What is that smell? And I was like, that is pure happiness, honey. That's what that is. And he was like, I told him all the time, I'm like, you totally got bait and switched because, I was like blowing my hair out, taking showers, we were dating. And then all of a sudden it was baseball hats and riding clothes and that's it.
Yeah, I know. Like he got in my car, I think it was a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "It literally smells like a barn in this car." And I'm like, "I know, I'm sorry."
And you're like, oh, could we make a candle out of that?
Right. Yeah. And then today I'm like, because Caitlin, my daughter, has got horses coming back from overseas, and so they're on an airplane right now. They should be landing momentarily. And he's just like, wait, horses get in the plane? And yeah, he's not a horse guy. He's
I
seen
know,
the
mine
video.
either. It's really funny sometimes. It
Yeah.
is funny, and you'll appreciate this. We were in Wellington. I was visiting a friend that was at Helicostrand, and I told my husband, I was like, just don't talk. Just don't talk. Don't ask. You can ask me questions later. Just smile. Just don't say a word. And we're out of watching in the outdoor arena. And I'm not kidding you. I mean, we've probably been married for 10 years. So he knew what a bell boot was. He was like, I mean, he sounded like he was like the biggest redneck too. He's like, what is that rubber thing on its foot? And I was like, oh my God, I don't even know you. I like walked away. I was like, I don't even know
Don't
who that man
talk.
is. I know, bless them because they are saints to put up with this. And
The,
especially with
yeah.
children that are also riding and all the things that they are just not used to. When you say I'm on my way home and it's 2 hours later,
Yeah, it took him a little time. No, it's true. And he did remind me too this morning. He's like, you do know that one out of the six, she's the most expensive because of this. I'm like, I know.
I know. Isn't it fun? So tell us about the books. So you mentioned that in the beginning. So you have this, obviously, you are a very successful author on top of everything else. So you love to write and then you started writing, but tell us how that actually works. Like, yeah.
So yeah, my first book was published in 2004 with imprint with Penguin. Now they're merged, Penguin Random House, and I do cozy mysteries, so kind of like rom-com, like whodunits, right? Like Murder She Wrote stuff under my name, and then I do some dark thriller stuff under my pen name, which is AK Alexander, stands for my kids, Anthony, Caitlin, Alexander.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I wrote for, oh gosh, I wrote 8 manuscripts from the time Alex was born in 1991 to 2004, I was writing, but nothing was, and I was submitting to agents and nothing was happening. And it was just this constant thing. And then when Caitlin was just about ready to go to kindergarten, and my dad was like, saying, well, what are you going to do? Right. And he wanted me to keep writing, but I knew I also had to contribute to supporting my family. And it was right as she entered school that I got my first publishing deal with, and
Wow.
they had asked me, it was great because what had happened was I was working at the NFR. It was that same year for the Christmas deal, that we were calling her, my daughter. And I got the idea because I'd been in Napa Valley, and I got the idea to do a whodunit set on the vineyard. So I would go back from working at the NFR during the day, and I would write in the hotel room at night. And I wrote the first 50 pages there. And because I'd been my books had been, my manuscripts had so many rejections. They were other manuscripts. They were thrillers at that time. And this was a different kind of genre, right? I'd never done this before, but it came to me. I sent it off to, this was just as email was starting to be a thing. Okay. That shows you, that dates us. But
I was there.
yeah. And so I did an email submission to a literary agent, and she responded almost immediately and said, when can I have the rest of the manuscript? And I was like, oh no. And so I said, oh, I need to do some edits and revisions. So she said, okay, well, can you get it to me as soon as possible? And it was obviously we're going into Christmas, and publishing does close during the month of December, basically. So
Okay.
she said, can you get it to me after the first of the year? So that whole month of December, I wrote this manuscript. And I think it was in February when she called me and she said, I have a deal on the table, but they want to know what the next two books in the series are about. And that's what I did, mouth wide open. I'm like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
well, I didn't plan a series, but what do they need? And she said, they just need a one-page synopsis on the next two. I said, well, when do they need it by? She said, by the end of the day today. I really want to get this done. Right. And at that time, the advances were four numbers and they were not high, but hey, it was being published. So,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I did it. You got the deal. Fast forward, that series now has seven books in it. And the first book is being developed for a movie currently. Murder in
Wow.
Court, yes, and with starring Emma Roberts and Lucas Bravo.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And then I do a whole nother series, Cozy Mysteries, set in the horse world with reigning cow horse trainer, and do. I mean, I write. I try to write almost every day. I do pretty much write every day. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it must feel good to you. It must feel like it's not like, oh, I have to write. Like it's therapeutic. Like you love it.
Outside of honestly my family and the horses, the writing is my passion, and my dad
Yeah.
recognized that in me. I don't think I ever planned to be in this position with the business. I really didn't. I mean, I think they had plans to sell the business at one point, and then my dad got sick, and I think he survived for a few more years because he decided to keep the company and maintain the
Wow.
purpose. And then my mom was, after my dad passed, was still very involved in the company. And then this point, I just realized, you know what, this is an amazing business and a legacy, and I have such a great team to be supportive that
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
I'm just going to do both. I'm going to do both
Yeah.
things. I'm just going to, and that's what my husband keeps encouraging me. He's like, you can do both. You can do it. I'm
You
like,
can. You
okay,
can. You
yeah,
can do both.
and do all the
And
things.
it's like I love that though for anyone that's listening. You can be different people. You can have different businesses. I'm a Gemini, so I just really strongly believe that we just have different personalities for different things. And you are such an incredible example and role model of that, of pursuing different passions and not being locked in to say, nope, this is what I do, this is it, and you are make it's a successful passion that is something that has been nurtured. I just love it. And now you're going to have a movie. Like I'm going to go buy your book.
You
I'm
know,
going to go find some books. And I've never
I
heard
was,
cozy mystery. That's like my new cozy
yeah.
mystery. I love that.
So it's more cozy mystery is more, there's no gratuitous violence on the page. It's a little more, it's always typically in not as, it doesn't have to be a small town, but kind of everybody knows everybody, and it's that who done it kind of.
Kind of like the Lifetime mystery series that kind of,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, that's my
exactly.
thing.
But I really attribute, again, I have to give the credit to my parents, and my dad in particular was very big on, he knew I'd have a movie. He would tell me that. He'd say,
Wow.
because
He
he
sounds like an amazing man.
really was. And he would say, what is your dream? What is your goal? And I tell him, I want to be a best-selling author. Okay, I remember he says, I want you to every morning write down 22 times. I don't know why 22, but write down 22 times I'm a New York Times best-selling author. I'm a best-selling author. And I did this for years. And then he told me,
Like
now
he taught you manifesting at such a young age.
completely, even younger
Wow.
than that, when I was a little girl and I was a gymnast, I did gymnastics from the time I was 6 till I was 15. And he would, before a meet, the night before, he'd sit with me and he'd say, what is the goal tomorrow? What do you want to achieve? Okay, I want you to go through your brain and I want you to do the routine over and over. And I want you to see in your mind that you're landing you're sticking it, and you're, what's the score you want? What is it? And then he'd say, what does that feel like? So he knew, I mean, he was really big in Napoleon Hill and all the original,
Hmm.
Vincent Norman Peale and so forth. And he did that was how he ran, that was how he also created the business. And so when it came to the books, he would tell me, and he would always have this in his mind too, is what is the goal after the goal? He goes, because you're going to have lived this so many times in your mind, and it'll be great when you get there, but it's really the journey of getting there. And he said, so you have the next goal set because you're going to be like, oh, you've already done it. Now what's next? And I said, well, I want a movie. He says, okay, well, put that down and put that out there. And
Maybe you should write a book about him.
I intend to. I do.
I would read it.
Yeah.
He sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Both my folks. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Really.
the gymnastic thing is, I was thinking like, that's how I channel my dressage tests. I see myself and just over and over and over mentally. And then when I'm doing it, it's still hard, but it's muscle memory. I don't never had anyone call a test that like so would so confuse me. But just like you said, I just keep manifesting what that feels like. It's not always perfect, but it definitely does help. Yeah.
It does help. I think it does
Yeah.
help. Yeah.
So the last thing I want to wrap up with, and you've kind of woven this in this, but when you talked about the rejection, I think that's what keeps so many people from pursuing their passions and their dreams. Is being scared of rejection and not understanding that it's part of it. It's part of everybody's success story. But what's your advice for someone who has an idea? Maybe they want to write a book, or they want to start a business, or they have a product that they want to develop, or how would you help someone just kind of, what I always talk about is like, at some point you have to take the leap. You had to email, you had to take the leap. What's your suggestion of doing that?
I think it's looking at those who have gone before us and taken those leaps. Somebody did it. Somebody has already done it. It's having the faith, and the only failure is not doing it, right? Because do you really want to get to the end of your days and look back and go, I should have done that. I could have.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the point? I mean, God puts us here for a purpose, and I truly believe that. And you just have to have faith in it. And it's hard work. It's just hard work. Anything worth achieving. But you know what? When you achieve it, it's like the reward is amazing, And there will be failures. I've had books bomb. I mean, it took me 12 years to get a literary agent. My dad had products bomb. He had a rope business that failed. It's just, you just keep the faith, and horse people in particular will understand this. You will scrap, you will do whatever it takes if you really believe in it. I always tell writers, I say, or people who want to write a book, and I say, if you think you're going to make a quick buck doing this, this is not for you. If it's in your heart because you love writing stories, that's why you do it. That's what you do. Because even if I didn't make $1 at this, I can assure you, India, I would be writing stories. It wouldn't
Yeah.
change who I am intrinsically. Yeah.
That is such incredible advice. So on the two parts, if somebody wanted to learn more about Professional's Choice products, where would they go?
You go to profchoice.com, and good news is we're getting a whole new website. It's going to be fabulous. I can't wait till that goes live. But the old one's still up, so profchoice.com. And the books, you can go to michellescott.com. It's Michelle with one L. And there's a link there for my pen name stuff too. So yeah.
I am going to be visiting that website right after this. I'm so excited. Well, thank you for your time today. It was so inspiring and so cool to learn so much behind such a big, powerful brand. And it's great to know that there's just real people behind it,
Thank you. And I truly appreciate your time. I've had a pleasure talking with you.
All right, y'all. Thank you for joining the Main Street Minute, and we will see you next time.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please let us know. Email support@mainstreetmarket.com. Please share and join us again next week for another episode of the Main Street Minute, right here on the Equus Radio Network.